Because this is a president who doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk too, and he's delivering on his promises to bolster our steel and aluminum industries in this country.
U.S. steel and aluminum prices soared on Monday after President Donald Trump said he would double tariffs on the two metals to 50%.
Imagine waking up to find one of America's biggest industrial downturns in 2025 wasn't triggered by Asia or Europe, but by the country right next door. It began with a single move. The U.S. hiked aluminum import tariffs from Canada from 25% to 50%. Within months, the shockwave rippled across North America. Factories downsized. Some shut their doors entirely. Meanwhile, Quebec landed billion-dollar deals in electric vehicles, defense, and green energy. This isn't just about metal and tariffs. It's about two nations reshaping their futures. The real question, who will come out on top? Let's break it down in today's video. Note, this video is an independent analysis based on public sources. It does not represent any organization or political stance. We encourage you to think critically and share your thoughts in the comments. At the start of 2025, Washington raised Canada's aluminum tariff under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, claiming it would protect U.S. industries like aluminum and steel smelting, sectors long in decline. But the reality was more complex. Canada supplies roughly 34% of U.S. aluminum imports and produces nearly 80% of North America's primary aluminum. Slapping a 50% tariff on such a crucial supplier hit a vital artery in the supply chain. Within days, the Midwest Premium, a benchmark for U.S. aluminum, jumped to $1,325 per ton, the highest in years. Contracts had to be renegotiated overnight. Automakers, aerospace companies, construction firms, and food packaging plants all faced higher costs and tighter schedules. Giants like GM, Ford, and Boeing had to choose between absorbing higher expenses or scaling back production. Aluminum plants in Iowa, Ohio, and Pennsylvania began cutting shifts and rotating layoffs, sending waves of anxiety through working-class families. For many Americans, the policy felt rushed and short-sighted, raising fears of job losses, higher prices, and weakened competitiveness. Some questioned whether these tariffs truly shielded domestic industry or simply piled more pressure on local businesses and consumers. In Canada, however, it was seen as an opening. The U.S. retreat created a market gap, and Canada moved quickly to fill it. Ottawa avoided loud confrontations or trade war rhetoric. Instead, it quietly doubled down on production capacity, market diversification, and long-term stability. Billions were invested in the Alouette smelter, boosting capacity and quality to meet strict global standards. Ottawa and Hydro-Quebec inked a 20-year clean energy deal, critical for aluminum smelting's massive electricity demands. With stable low-cost 100% hydroelectric power, Canada positioned itself as a leader in green aluminum, a huge draw for eco-conscious markets. In Quebec, workers gained job security while U.S. plants cut hours and pay. The contrast couldn't be starker. One side shrinking, the other expanding. And Canada didn't just shore up its home turf, it looked outward. Exports surged to the EU, Japan, the UK, Singapore, and Italy. Asian buyers began canceling U.S. contracts to source from Canada, attracted by lower costs, cleaner production, and political stability. In just months, Canada transformed a tariff setback into a launchpad, cementing itself as a global aluminum powerhouse. They thought tariffs would hurt Canada, but instead, it might rewrite the entire map of global trade. Across the border, many U.S. communities now face the loss of factories, jobs, and influence as production advantages shift north. Yet, this is only the opening move. Canada isn't just strengthening factories or boosting exports. It's quietly building a new logistics empire designed to bypass U.S. infrastructure entirely. When Washington slapped tariffs on Canadian aluminum, Ottawa saw more than a trade dispute. It saw a wake-up call. Relying on routes and ports through U.S. territory suddenly looked risky. The solution? Create an independent logistics network that ships aluminum directly to Europe and Asia, avoiding tariff shocks and customs roadblocks from the U.S. One centerpiece of this vision is the $2.3 billion expansion of the port of Saguenay. Once complete, it could handle 15 million extra tons annually, much of it premium-grade aluminum for high-end markets. The upgrades include faster unloading systems, modern berths, and EU/Japanese standard storage. Perfect for preserving low-carbon aluminum. The ripple effects are immediate. Jobs in construction, port operations, and surrounding industries. And that's just the start. The 375 kilometers rail line linking the Alouette aluminum smelter to Saguenay is getting a full overhaul, cutting transport time by 28% and saving about $12 per ton. A train that once took 24 hours for a round trip could soon do it in 17, meaning faster turnaround, more shipments, and massive weekly savings. Hundreds of thousands of Canadian dollars for each standard train. Lower transport costs mean Canadian aluminum stays competitive even if global energy prices or carbon taxes rise. Plants won't need mass layoffs, securing thousands of jobs across Quebec and nearby provinces. More importantly, Canada could export directly to key markets without touching U.S. ports, shielding itself from sudden political shifts. And here's the game changer. Canada's aluminum is green. Powered entirely by hydroelectricity, it meets strict EU carbon standards, avoiding carbon taxes and saving about €200 per ton. For European and Asian manufacturers eager to cut emissions, it's a dream product, while many competitors still run on coal. But aluminum isn't just for cans and window frames. It's critical for defense. Fighter jets, missiles, satellites, warships. These all require ultra-pure aluminum that few producers can supply. The U.S. depends on Canada for about 42% of its defense-grade aluminum, and in some programs, like missile systems or satellites, that jumps to 60%. When tariffs hit, the U.S. supply chain faltered. Some domestic smelters shut down, and even the F-35 fighter jet program saw delays of up to 3 months. A congressional report warned that defense costs could soar by $1.3 billion in just 2 years. Major contractors like Lockheed Martin and Boeing were forced to renegotiate for higher prices and slower delivery. This dependence creates a strategic paradox. Canada is both an ally and a critical vulnerability. For the U.S., finding alternatives won't be easy. For Canada, it's a powerful bargaining chip, one that could shape trade deals, defense contracts, and the balance of power for years to come. Canada is rewriting the rules of global trade, and the world is taking notice. No longer just a raw material supplier, Canada now holds a crucial place in the U.S. defense supply chain. If trade tensions rise, it could disrupt America's military production overnight. This shows how short-term tariffs can trigger long-lasting shifts few anticipate. Instead of simply exporting raw resources, Canada is keeping the full value at home, from extraction and processing to finished products. At the heart of this transformation is Quebec's green aluminum, made with 100% clean hydroelectric power and lithium mined in Manitoba and Ontario, feeding a fast-growing electric vehicle industry in Ontario. These industries are tied together by modernized rail and port networks, creating a closed supply corridor entirely within Canada's borders. Clean power ensures products meet strict global emission standards, avoiding carbon taxes and boosting brand value as demand for green products soars. In 2024, Canada's EV exports jumped 22% from the previous year. If this pace continues, experts predict volumes could double by 2027. Massive lithium projects, like Nemaska in Quebec and Snow Lake in Manitoba, are gearing up to supply enough material for hundreds of thousands of EVs annually. Tesla and LG Energy are already locked into long-term Canadian supply deals for aluminum, nickel, and battery production. Canada is steadily positioning itself as a green tech and manufacturing hub, rivaling industrial giants like Germany, South Korea, and Japan. Linking its defense aluminum sector with EV manufacturing creates a powerful dual-value loop, boosting trade leverage and strengthening energy and security ties. Recent deals prove the strategy. A $4.6 billion green tech partnership with the EU opens European markets for Canadian aluminum and EV components at preferential tariffs. A 15-year contract with Japan secures aluminum sales for cars and aerospace, helping Tokyo reduce reliance on China. Through trade pacts like CPTPP, Canada's EV exports gain tariff advantages across Asia-Pacific markets, potentially adding $12 billion in exports by 2030 and creating thousands of jobs in Quebec, Ontario, and Manitoba. Major economies now see Canada as a reliable alternative to China for sensitive industries like defense aluminum and EV components. Its reputation as a clean, high-quality, politically stable supplier makes it a go-to partner for corporations seeking to cut emissions and diversify supply. This shift isn't just economic, it's strategic. Canada is merging two pillars: defense material production and green tech innovation. New ultralight composites could serve both EV frames and fighter jets. Advanced batteries in development could power family cars or naval defense systems. Shared supply chains reduce costs, speed up delivery, and ensure products meet both commercial and military standards. The subtle advantage? Nations relying on Canada for defense materials must also maintain ties in green tech, giving Ottawa quiet but powerful leverage in global trade and security talks. For Canadians, this is a source of pride, a sign their country is shaping the industries of the future. For some in the U.S., it's a wake-up call that market share and influence are shifting north. The question now is simple. Is this Canada's defining moment on the world stage or just the opening move in a far bigger game? This was just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up. Digital Garage has so much more in store.